PK here, and welcome to 12 Games a Year, the series where I only buy 12 games for all of 2018. That's buy games with my own actual money. And in other words, people can send me games or whatever, or I can trade games, but I can't actually buy more than 12 games for all of 2018. So, anyways, well, first off, I want to talk about my experience over at the Midwest Gaming Classic last Sunday. At the time of this recording, I guess it'd be, yeah, so almost a week ago. I went to the Midwest Gaming Classic up in Milwaukee, and I met a lot of really cool people there. When I was there, I ran into Church, the Game Grinder, Jason of Corpse Sled Gaming. They have the Game Tenants podcast. I ran into Musty Hobbit, he was on a panel with those guys, and also with Chris, the Old Ass Retro Gamer, and then also Musty Hobbit was also on a panel with the Cartridge Club, and which had Player One, the Mighty Q Dog. Oh, his wife, Mrs. Q Dog, was there as well. I talked. In fact, I talked to them for a little bit. Let's see. It's Rocket Sauce, Dean of Round Two Gaming. So there's a lot of people there that I've seen on YouTube and everything, or I've watched their videos, or I follow them on Twitter. So a lot of really cool people I met there. It was really exciting, and guys, thank you guys so much. It was great to meet you. So, but anyways, so let's get talking about what game I got. Did I get my Holy Grail? Yeah, I did. I got Battletoads and Double Dragon on the NES. Wait a minute. This is a reproduction cartridge. I've been had. No, I'm just kidding. This is a reproduction cartridge I've had actually for a long time. So this would have been, this is the game I've always been looking for. I've always been trying to get Battletoads and Double Dragon on the NES for the longest time because I had it as a kid. So, it's my Holy Grail game. So I did not get that, unfortunately. And let me tell you guys the story of what happened. Okay, so I get to the Midwest Gaming Classic, and the day when I got there, the weather was just terrible. It took me like over 2 hours to get to Milwaukee, and the ATM machines on every floor that was at the convention center, none of them worked. They were all offline. I was like, oh, great. Well, fortunately, I had brought a bunch of trade bait. I had, I think, like 18 NES games. I had like maybe 5 or 6 Super Nintendo games and some other like disc-based games. I want to say I even had like Super Paper Mario, like a loose disc of that, and in there. And anyway, so I had this little box or little bag of trade bait. So I knew I was going to have something I could use to acquire some games. So I thought, in fact, at one point I thought maybe I should just go find an ATM somewhere off the premises. And I never ended up doing that. So now, there were several vendors at this. There was tons of vendors. It was insane. But anyways, 2 of the vendors had Battletoads and Double Dragon on the NES for a loose card. Because I wasn't going to buy a complete card. Complete card goes for well over $200. I mean, that's just not. I mean, I love that game, but I didn't need a complete in-box version of that game. I just wanted that game really badly. And anyways, so the first vendor I go to, and he wants $95 for this game, which is crazy. It's like 70 to $80 online. But I was like, you know what? I'm at this convention. I want to try to get this game. Maybe what I have in trade bait is enough to get that. I feel like I definitely had over $140 worth of games there, without question. Maybe I had closer to $200. I'm not 100% sure on that. I mean, I knew they weren't going to give me $140 worth of credit towards the game. Obviously I didn't expect that because they got to make a living, and I understand that. I understand the whole supply. You got to be able to move product, and it is what it is. But I had these games I didn't really care about, and I just wanted to maybe get something I really wanted. So I talked to the first guy, and he's like, listen, you have some very clean games here, and there's some pretty decent ones in here, but honestly, they're all games I kind of already have or don't really think I could move, so I can't take any of these at this time. So I'm like, okay, I understand. Then I go to the next guy. The next guy, he wants $80, which is totally reasonable. So I show him my trade bait, and he's like, there's just too many commons in here or whatever. And he's like, I really don't need, it's like I can get $80 for this game. So why would I, take all these? Because it was going to take me more time to sell these. And I'm like, yeah, but I got a reasonable amount of money worth of games here. This isn't like, and there's some decent games here. I think I had like Maniac Mansion in there. I can't remember what else I had. I had some other stuff that I thought, man, you could move this stuff. This wouldn't be a problem. But anyways, he's like, well, I could give you $40 credit or whatever. And I'm like, no. I'm not going to give you these games for free, basically, because that's basically what it is. So I'm feeling really discouraged at this point. I'm like, crap. And, at one point I even thought maybe I should go get $40, go somewhere off the premise, get $40 for an 18 because I really want this game. I didn't think that was in my best interest. And plus, my budget, I'm like, that doesn't make sense to do that. So then I remember one of the other vendors had a game I was really interested in as well, but it wasn't my Grail game, but it's a game I really like a lot. Anyways, so I go over to this guy and I'm like, hey, do you take trades? And the guy's like, yeah, I definitely do. It's like, let me refer you to my associate here, or whoever the guy was. And so he was looking over and we were doing small talk and everything. And I'm just like, God, is this guy actually going to take any of this stuff? He's like, and the guy kind of like, after we got done talking, the guy is like, listen, typically I don't take so many commons like this, but there's a lot of good commons in here, and I think I definitely have a buyer for these. So totally, I will do an even up trade for this game. And this game was $100 game. So I'm like, deal, absolutely. So what is that game that I got? You're probably asking by now. If you were already at the Midwest Gaming Classic and you talked to me, you probably already know what it is. But this is the game I got. I got Bucky O'Hare. I am so excited and happy to get this game. You have no idea. The guy was totally transparent and honest with me too. Like, one of the major, there was one little defect in it, and the fact is that you notice, I don't know if you could tell, but there's like no screw there right here. And that's because the screw won't stay in there. There's like something like slightly broken, but it's still Bucky O'Hare. The label, I don't know if you guys can see that very well. The label doesn't look too bad. It's definitely a little, it's got some little slight flaws right here, but it's Bucky O'Hare. I've wanted to get this game for a long time. I never thought I actually would get it either because, $100 for a game. At one point, this had shot up to like 120, I recall, years ago. And so, my thought was, well, it's not a game I had as a kid like Battletoads and Double Dragon. So, I mean, and I have other ways of playing it too, like my 150-in-1 NES cart, or or I have one of those Famicom ones too. I could play it on. There's so many ways I could play this game or emulate it. So I never thought, oh, I'm going to spend over $100 to get this game. And because think about that. You could get how many more games for $100? So it's just never been on my. I never thought I was going to get this game, honestly. And I remember a time when this game used to be $40, and I just kicked myself for the longest time for not getting it because maybe I didn't know about this game when I was a kid, but I knew about Bucky O'Hare. In fact, I loved the afternoon cartoon. I used to watch the afternoon cartoon probably as much as I watched Ninja Turtles back in the day, and I even had the Bucky O'Hare action figure. I need to get one of those again, actually. The green little Bucky O'Hare, he's got the orange blaster and everything. Oh, man. I used to do kind of my own little fan fiction thing where the Turtles would team up with Bucky O'Hare as a kid. That's basically what play is really as a kid. It's creating your own personal fan fiction. But anyways, I'm really, really happy to get this. Oh my God, Bucky O'Hare. Bucky O'Hare, $100-some game. It might as well have been Little Samson, honestly. Just felt like forever out of reach. So when the guy said he'd take the trade, I was like, yes, thank you. That's what I'm thinking inside my head, but I'm like, yeah, that sounds fair. Absolutely. But the hunt for the Grail continues, okay? I'm going to get that game. My goal is, one of my goals as far as this 12 games a year thing is I'm going to get that game at the end of the year, hell or high water. Now, some of you guys are, you've watched my other 12 games a year episodes and you're like, wait a minute, technically you traded that. So doesn't that count as a trade? So wouldn't you have more than one game for this month? And typically that would be the case. But here's the thing. Let's look what I spent for this trip. Okay, I spent $25 on a ticket to go into the Midwest Gaming Classic. I spent $20 for parking, which looking back now, I should have just rolled the dice on that one because I don't think anyone was checking because the weather was so bad. And then I spent $7 on pizza. And then let's think about what I traded exactly. There was probably well over $200 worth of games there for a $100 game of games I just didn't really care about. And this actually I do care about. So the way I look at it, it's not like I just it's not like me and Joe of Joe Goes Retro. It's not like he traded me a bunch of Atari games for a bunch of NES games and even up trade. Anyways, that's just straight up even up trade. This clearly I was using those games as currency to get this game. And so I'm going to say that this is one of the games that I bought because in a way I really did buy it. It's not like this was an even up trade. So that's why I'm considering this my one game for the month. But yeah, so Bucky O'Hare, what an awesome game. It's been called Konami's Mega Man, and there's a lot of elements of that. The farthest I've ever actually gotten is I think I've beat the first level with Bucky, or the green planet. That's the one I beat or whatever, with all the trees and stuff like that. And that was about as far as I've ever played into this. But what I've played this, I like it. It's a very challenging, difficult game, but it's a lot of fun and definitely worth checking out. Yeah, and it's interesting too. The first place I ever heard about the Bucky O'Hare NES game was NES Complex, who, interestingly enough, on the day I'm recording this, just released a new video, a review and retrospect of Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. So I thought, oh my gosh, that is so fitting. I was like, I need to go make this recording right now. But anyway, so my game of the month is Bucky O'Hare. So what do you guys think? Was this a good purchase, honestly? Is this a game you would want in your collection? Comment down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Thank you so much for watching, and keep on gaming.